Hi, everyone. Welcome to English Graft, where we talk about real-life topics through stories and conversations and help you get more comfortable using English in everyday situations. I'm Lucas. If this is your first time here, welcome to English Graft. This isn't an English class. I'm not here to teach grammar rules or give you perfect lines to memorize. Think of this as a calm, honest chat in English, the kind you can listen to while walking, doing chores, or winding down at the end of the day. Today, we're talking about dating awkward moments. Not the big dramatic stuff, not breakups, not the one that got away. I mean those tiny seconds on a date when nothing terrible happens, but your body tightens anyway. You smile, you nod, and inside you're thinking, why does this feel weird? For me, awkwardness doesn't arrive like a movie scene. It's subtle. It's the way you suddenly notice your hands, the way you become aware of your voice. You start monitoring yourself. Am I talking too fast? Am I laughing too much? Am I too quiet? And the funny thing is, the more you monitor yourself, the less present you become. Half your attention stays with the person in front of you, and the other half turns into a camera pointed at you. That camera is brutal. It notices everything, your posture, your pauses, your facial expression. Awkwardness also shows up in the smallest gaps. A 3-second silence feels like 30. You take a sip of water and feel like you're doing it wrong. You look at the menu again even though you already chose. You nod at something you didn't fully understand. It's not that the other person did something horrible, it's that your nervous system is on high alert. If you've felt this, you're not broken. You're just human in a vulnerable situation. Dating is basically social uncertainty with a nice drink on the table. Let's talk about silence, because silence is where awkwardness loves to live. For a long time, I believed silence on a date meant failure. If we stopped talking, I assumed there was no chemistry, and because I assumed that, I tried to fix it. I would jump to a new topic, ask random questions, or laugh at things that weren't funny. But silence isn't the enemy. Pressure is the enemy. Silence gives your brain space, and space is where your thoughts start doing gymnastics. Do they like me? Did I say something stupid? Should I tell another story? Should I be flirty? Your mind tries to predict the future in real time, and that's exhausting. Sometimes silence is simply two people thinking. Sometimes it's two people settling into the moment. Sometimes it's just a pause. A good date is not a date with zero silence. A good date is a date where silence doesn't feel like a disaster. And that's a skill. You can learn it. Here's another reason dates get awkward. We start performing. We want to be liked, so we shape ourselves. We choose the best stories. We hide the messy ones. We laugh a little louder. We sound a little more confident. We pretend we're not nervous. And I get it. Nobody wants to show up and say, "Hi, I'm anxious and I overthink everything." But the problem is, performance creates distance. When you perform, you're not connecting. You're managing an image. You're watching the other person's reactions like a scoreboard. Did they smile? Did they lean in? Did they check their phone? That turns the date into a test, and tests make people tense. Connection needs presence. Presence means you're actually there, listening, responding, letting the moment be imperfect. So if your dates feel awkward, it might not be because you're bad at dating. It might be because you're working too hard to be a version of yourself that feels safe. I'll share a small story. I once went on a date in a quiet cafe. Soft music, warm light, nothing dramatic. We talked for a while, and it was fine. Normal topics, normal laughs. Then the conversation slowed down. Not in a scary way, just naturally. There was a pause, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and inside my head, I panicked. I remember thinking, say something right now. Don't let this turn awkward. So I picked up my phone and pretended to check a message. I didn't need to. I wasn't even expecting anything. I just wanted to escape the feeling of being watched by silence. Later that night, I realized the truth. I wasn't bored. I wasn't uninterested. I was uncomfortable with not knowing what the silence meant. I wanted certainty. I wanted reassurance, and silence gives you neither. That date taught me something weirdly important. Sometimes we don't fear the other person, we fear the unknown inside ourselves. Awkward moments don't always end when the date ends. Sometimes they follow you home and sit next to you in bed like an annoying roommate. You replay everything, the joke you made, the way they reacted, the sentence you wish you didn't say, the silence you tried to fill, the moment you looked away. Overthinking feels like problem solving, but most of the time it's just anxiety wearing glasses. Your brain searches for a clear conclusion, good date or bad date. But real human interactions don't fit clean labels. A short silence becomes evidence. A neutral face becomes rejection. A delayed reply becomes a story about disinterest. If you do this, you're not alone. We overthink because uncertainty is uncomfortable, and the mind hates discomfort, so it creates narratives. The goal is not to never overthink. The goal is to notice when your mind is writing fiction and gently return to facts. We carry expectations into dating, like invisible luggage. We expect conversation to flow. We expect chemistry to appear quickly. We expect to feel confident and calm, like we're starring in a very relaxed movie. But real life isn't like that. Real people get nervous. Real conversations get messy. Real connection takes time. For a long time, I assumed awkwardness meant incompatibility. Now, I think awkwardness often means reality isn't matching the script in your head. Here's what expectations do. They create pressure. Pressure makes you scan every detail. You judge quickly. You assume quickly. A pause becomes a warming sign. A simple "yeah" becomes a cold response. A small misunderstanding becomes a big doubt. But connection is uneven. Sometimes it grows slowly. Sometimes it shows up after the third conversation, not the first. Lowering expectations doesn't mean settling. It means giving a moment room to breathe. When expectations soften, your body relaxes. And when your body relaxes, you can actually listen, like really listen. That's when dates feel less like exams and more like two humans meeting. Now, let's get practical. Not just be confident advice. Real advice you can use in the middle of a date when your brain starts spiraling. 1. Name the moment quietly. You don't have to say it out loud, but you can notice it. Okay, this feels awkward right now. Naming it stops it from growing into a monster. 2. Slow your body first, not your thoughts. Your thoughts might be racing, but your body can lead the way. Relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw. Breathe out a little longer than you breathe in. Your nervous system listens to your breath. 3. Give silence a job. Instead of silence equals failure, reframe it. Silence can be a sip of water, a smile, a moment to think. If you treat it as normal, it becomes normal. 4. Ask one simple, real question. When you panic, you might ask complicated questions to sound interesting. Don't. Ask something human, like, "What's been on your mind lately?" Or, "What's something you're looking forward to this week?" Simple questions create real answers. 5. Stop auditioning. You don't need to prove you're worthy. A date is not an interview for the role of perfect partner. It's two people checking if they feel safe, curious, and comfortable together. 6. Use tiny honesty. You don't need a deep confession, but a small honest line can relieve tension. "I'm a little nervous, by the way." Or, "I'm thinking a lot today." Most kind people respond warmly, and if they don't, that's information too. 7. Reset your goal. Instead of "I hope they like me," try "I want to learn one real thing about this person," or "I want to see how I feel around them." Lower goals reduce pressure, and pressure is what creates awkwardness. 8. Have a gentle exit plan. This one is underrated. If you know you can leave politely, you feel calmer. You can say, "I have to head out in about 10 minutes," and that's it. Safety reduces performance. These tips won't turn every date into magic, but they can turn a tense date into a normal human moment, and that's already a win. Let's make this concrete. Here are a few awkward moments that happen all the time and what might be going on underneath. Awkward moment number 1. You arrive and the greeting is weird. Is it a handshake, a hug, a wave, a half hug that turns into a shoulder bump? This one is so common that it's almost funny. Most of the time, it doesn't mean anything deep. It just means you haven't built a shared normal yet. Two strangers are trying to guess the rules at the same time. What helps? Keep it light. Smile, laugh a little, and move on. The goal is not to have a perfect greeting. The goal is to make the next minute easier. Awkward moment number 2. You order food and suddenly forget how to be a person. You stare at the menu like it's a test. You ask the waiter to repeat something. You spill water. You feel like you just lost 20 points of attractiveness. Honestly, this is just nerves. When you care about making a good impression, your body gets clumsy. What helps? Tiny honesty again. "I'm a little nervous today." Or just, "Wow, my hands are not cooperating." If the other person has empathy, they'll relax with you. Awkward moment number 3. The conversation becomes an interview. What do you do? Where are you from? What do you like? Those questions are fine, but if you keep stacking them, it feels like a job interview. And interviews are awkward because nobody knows what the right answer is. What helps? Add a personal detail after a question. Instead of only asking, also share. For example, "What kind of music do you listen to lately? I've been stuck on the same 3 songs for 2 weeks." Now it's a conversation, not a questionnaire. Awkward moment number 4. A joke doesn't land. You say something funny in your head and it dies in the air. You hear your own joke and think, "Why did I say that?" This happens to everyone. Comedy needs timing, context, and comfort. A first date doesn't always have those ingredients yet. What helps? Don't punish yourself. You can just smile and say, "Okay, that sounded funnier in my head." That line is oddly charming because it shows self-awareness without drama. Awkward moment number 5. You disagree on something small. Maybe it's politics, maybe it's money, maybe it's how to spend weekends. The awkwardness comes from fear. If I disagree, will they dislike me? What helps? Practice calm disagreement. You can say, "That's interesting. I see it a bit differently," and then explain gently. The way someone handles small disagreement tells you more than 100 perfect compliments. Awkward moment number 6, the goodbye. You stand outside, you hesitate, and your brain becomes a loading screen. Hug? Kiss? Wave? Text me? Let's do this again. The end of date moment can be the most awkward of all. Again, it doesn't automatically mean the date was bad. It means endings are uncertain. What helps? Choose a simple, clear closing. "I had a nice time. Get home safe." If you want another date, say it plainly. "I'd like to see you again." Clarity is kind. Clarity reduces awkwardness. Now, I want to say something carefully. Not all discomfort is the same. Sometimes a date feels awkward because you're nervous or because you're learning each other's rhythm. That's normal. But sometimes a date feels uncomfortable because something is actually not okay and your body is picking up on it. So how do you tell the difference between awkward and unsafe? Awkward usually feels like tension mixed with curiosity. You might feel nervous, but you still want to understand the person. You still feel basically respected. Unsafe feels like your boundaries are being pushed. Maybe they ignore your no. Maybe they make jokes that feel mean. Maybe they pressure you to drink more, stay longer, go somewhere private, or share personal details you don't want to share. Maybe they talk down to you, or test you, or make you feel small. If you feel unsafe, the advice is not relax. The advice is listen to that signal, get support, leave. One helpful question is, do I feel more like myself around this person or less like myself? Awkwardness can fade when comfort grows. Unsafe feelings usually grow stronger the longer you stay. And just to be clear, you don't need a big reason to leave. I'm gonna head out now is enough. Your safety and your comfort matter more than being polite. I'm including this because sometimes people, especially people who overthink, blame themselves for everything. They think, I'm anxious, so it's my fault. No, sometimes your discomfort is wisdom. Okay, back to the normal awkwardness, the harmless kind. This is English Graft, so let's give you a few real-life phrases. Not perfect textbook English, just natural lines that reduce pressure. When you need a second to think. Give me a second, my brain is loading. Let me think for a moment. That's a good question, I need a second. When you don't understand something. Sorry, can you say that one more time? What do you mean by that? I'm not sure I got it. Could you explain a bit? When there's a silence and you want to keep it light. We're having a dramatic pause. I'm enjoying the quiet, actually. Okay, new topic. What's your comfort movie? When you want to be a little honest without making it heavy. I'm a bit nervous, not gonna lie. I'm not always great at first dates, but I'm here. I overthink sometimes, so if I look serious, that's why. When you want to set a boundary politely. I'm not comfortable with that. I'd rather not talk about that yet. Let's keep it simple for now. When you want to show interest clearly. I like talking to you. That's really interesting. Tell me more. I'd like to see you again. I'll say this again. Clarity is attractive. It's also kind. A lot of awkwardness comes from guessing. Clear words reduce guessing. And if you're learning English, these phrases are powerful because they buy you time. They create breathing space, and breathing space creates confidence. Here's a simple exercise I use, especially when my brain wants to replay the whole date for 6 hours. Right after the date, or later that night, ask yourself 3 questions. You can answer in your head or write it down. 1. How did my body feel around them? Not your thoughts, your body. Did you feel tense the whole time? Did you relax at any point? Did you feel safe? 2. Did I feel curious? Curiosity is a good sign. It means you want to know more, even if the date wasn't perfect. 3. Was I being myself or performing? This one is honest and sometimes uncomfortable. If you were performing, don't judge yourself, just notice it. Then ask, what was I afraid would happen if I showed the real me? This exercise helps because it turns overthinking into something useful. Instead of replaying every sentence, you're checking the important things: comfort, curiosity, and authenticity. And here's a bonus question if you want it. If a friend described this exact date to me, what would I tell them? We give our friends better advice than we give ourselves, so borrow your own wisdom. Dating is not about winning someone's approval. It's about finding mutual comfort and mutual interest. And that takes time and, yes, awkward moments. One more story, and then we'll wrap up. I once went on a date where I accidentally misunderstood a question. They asked something like, "So what do you do for fun?" And I heard it as, "What do you do for work?" So I started talking about my job for a full minute, very confidently. Halfway through, I noticed their face, not angry, just confused and a little amused. My heart dropped. I felt embarrassed. I wanted to apologize 10 times and disappear into the floor. But they laughed gently and said, "I meant hobbies, not work." And I laughed too. Not a fake laugh, a real one, because honestly, it was funny. That moment could have turned into shame. Instead, it turned into connection. Why? Because we both treated the awkwardness like a normal human thing. After that, I started believing this. Awkward moments can be a test, but not the kind you think. They're not testing whether you're perfect. They're testing whether you can be kind to yourself and kind to the other person when things aren't perfect. If you can do that, you're already dating well. If English isn't your first language, dating can feel even more awkward. You might worry about your accent. You might search for words and feel embarrassed. You might think, if I were fluent, I'd be charming. But here's the truth. Awkwardness happens to native speakers too. Awkwardness is not a language problem, it's a human problem. Still, there are two helpful mindset shifts. First, clarity is more attractive than perfection. If you don't know a word, you can say, "How do you say this?" If you need a second, you can say, "Give me a moment to think." That's normal conversation. Second, don't punish yourself for being slower. Speaking a second language adds processing time. That doesn't mean you're boring, it means your brain is working. If anything, dating in English can be a beautiful filter. The people who are patient and curious are the people worth your time. Before we wrap up, let's slow down for a moment and look at some useful vocabulary from today's topic. These words often appear in real conversations, especially when we talk about feelings, dating, and awkward moments. 1. Awkward. Uncomfortable or a little embarrassing. Example: the silence after that joke felt really awkward. 2. Silence. A moment when no one is speaking. Example: there was a long silence before anyone answered. 3. Pressure. The feeling that you must do something perfectly or quickly. Example: I felt a lot of pressure to say the right thing. 4. Overthink. To think too much, usually in a worried or anxious way. Example: I tend to overthink every message after a date. 5. Vulnerable. Emotionally open, easy to feel hurt. Example: being honest made me feel vulnerable, but also relieved. 6. Expectation. What you believe or hope will happen. Example: my expectations didn't match reality. 7. Reassurance. Words or actions that help someone feel calm and safe. Example: a simple smile gave me some reassurance. 8. Chemistry. A natural feeling of connection between people. Example: we didn't talk much, but the chemistry was there. 9. Self-conscious. Too aware of how you look, sound, or act. Example: I felt self-conscious about my accent. 10. Let it be. To accept something without trying to change it or fix it. Example: sometimes the best choice is to let it be. Try using one of these in a sentence today, even a simple one. Small practice builds comfort. Quick recap before you go. Awkward moments don't mean you failed. They mean you're in a real situation with real uncertainty. Let silence be normal. Stop auditioning. Breathe first. Use tiny honesty. Choose clarity. And after the date, focus on what matters. Did you feel safe, curious, and like yourself? That's a better compass than any perfect conversation. And you deserve dates that feel respectful and easy. So if your dating life has awkward moments, welcome to the club. Awkward doesn't mean wrong. It often means human. It means you care, you're trying, and you're stepping into uncertainty. I'm curious, what's your most awkward dating moment? Was it a weird silence, a joke that failed, a handshake that turned into a half hug? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and your stories help other listeners feel less alone. If this episode helped you feel understood, please like the video, share it with a friend who overthinks dates, and subscribe to English Graft for more real-life topics through stories and conversations. Thanks for spending this time with me. Take care, and I'll talk to you again in the next episode.